Have you felt it? That eerie calm before your entire life rearranges. Not an explosion, not a sign in the sky, just an ache, a knowing that something isn't yours anymore. That's not confusion. It's not even fear. It's the signal you're about to jump. They never told you this. The biggest shifts of your life won't look like fireworks. They won't even feel like breakthroughs. They'll arrive as stillness, as silence, as a subtle dissonance between who you are and the life you're still standing in. One morning you'll wake up, look around, and everything will feel expired. Not wrong, just no longer yours. And something inside you will whisper, it's time to jump. Not physically, not symbolically, quantumly. Most people think quantum jumping is just a metaphor, a poetic way to say, change your mindset, picture a better future. But what if it's not a metaphor at all? What if it's a literal energetic process, a phenomenon as real as gravity, as measurable as light? A shift so sharp, so immediate, it doesn't build a bridge, it erases the river. No staircase, no gradual steps, just a sudden relocation of self, like an electron in quantum physics jumping from one orbit to another, without passing through the space in between. Physicists call this a discontinuous transition. The particle doesn't wander from one energy state to another. It absorbs enough energy and then snaps from one existence to the next. That's not poetry, that's physics. But here's what no one tells you. You too are built from the same laws. Every cell in your body, every thought you think, every timeline you brush against is tangled in this same unseen web. You are not moving through life. Life is moving through you. So when you feel that strange restlessness, that sudden urge to walk away, to start again, to let something go, it's not just emotional unease, it's your field preparing to jump. But here's the tragedy. Most people ignore the signal. They rationalize, they wait, they bargain with the old version of themselves. They analyze the cost of change while their soul has already packed its bags. The mind tries to catch up to a decision the heart already made. That's why transformation feels like chaos. Because you're not simply changing, you're fighting a jump that already began. And the only thing delaying it is your attachment to how. You want it to make sense. You want it to come with proof, with a visible path, with steps you can see. But quantum jumps don't follow logic. They don't need explanation. They don't wait for permission. They only need one thing: coherence. A moment when your energy, your decision, and your signal vibrate louder than your fear. That's the moment the field responds. That's the moment the jump locks in. And you've felt it before, haven't you? That day a relationship ended, and you felt 10 years lighter in a single breath. That moment you walked out of the job, and the air outside tasted different, like freedom. That instant you stopped explaining yourself, and the world, almost stunned, first gave you silence, and then gave you miracles. Those weren't gradual changes, they were leaps, not in your calendar, but in your signal. And here's the reason you didn't see immediate proof. It wasn't because nothing happened, it was because the field was still reorganizing around your new coordinates. Because that's how this works. The moment you choose, not hope, not wish, but choose, a new state of being, the quantum field begins to rearrange. But here's where most people abort the jump. They get nervous when nothing changes in 3D right away. They doubt, they backtrack, and in that doubt, the timeline collapses back to the familiar. Here's the twist. Quantum jumping doesn't require belief. It doesn't ask you to chant affirmations or convince yourself it's real. It asks something far simpler, but far harder. Stop sending the signal of who you used to be, because as long as you broadcast that frequency, you'll stay entangled with the same reality. This is where our journey begins. Because over the next few minutes, you'll understand why quantum jumping isn't just an idea. It's a process. It's a science. It's a strategy of vibrational precision. And once you learn to engage it deliberately, without waiting for life to shove you, you stop reacting to circumstances. You start selecting them. So don't force yourself to understand it all right now. Just stay. Let the words sink. Let the signal shift. Because if something already feels different in your body even as you listen to this, you might already be jumping. You can't leap while clinging to the ledge. That's the first truth, the one most people fight. Because a quantum jump isn't about collecting something new. It's about dissolving into someone different. And that means letting entire pieces of you die. The thoughts, the habits, the personas you built to survive. Not violently, not all at once, but completely. You can't broadcast the signal of who you're becoming while clutching the emotions of who you were. The quantum field doesn't juggle frequencies. It doesn't pick the loudest voice. It responds to the clearest one. This is where quantum mechanics and identity psychology quietly meet. In the quantum field, every version of you already exists, not as fantasy, but as potential. You don't create the timeline, you tune to it. And the tuning isn't in doing more, pushing harder, or forcing another hour of visualization. It's in collapsing the wave of the version of you that built this present reality, becoming emotionally, neurologically, and spiritually unavailable for the self who kept the old story alive. And here's the paradox most people can't see. You don't find your new life by fixing the old one. You jump by becoming the version who doesn't need it fixed. This isn't abstract. Neuroscience shows identity isn't just a story you tell. It's a network of pathways in the brain. Every morning you wake up and replay your problems, your regrets, your worries. You are reactivating that familiar self. That self carries a frequency, and that frequency sends one message to the quantum field. Keep broadcasting the same. But what happens when you interrupt that loop? When instead of rehearsing yesterday's pain, you wake up and ask, what would my future self do now? And then, without proof, without evidence, you act as if, not pretending, not faking, but deciding. Because every future is a frequency. Every identity is a code. You don't earn it, you tune to it. And tuning requires one thing above all, emotional congruence. If you speak affirmations of abundance but still breathe scarcity, the field doesn't hear your words, it hears your feeling. If you visualize success but carry guilt in your chest, the field mirrors the guilt. That's not failure, that's feedback. The universe isn't judging you, it's calibrating to you. So ask yourself, what emotions are you still practicing that belong to the self you say you're leaving behind? Worry, people-pleasing, hiding, these aren't just habits, they are frequencies, and they keep you knotted to the timeline you swore you were done with. To collapse an identity is to stop rehearsing it. You don't need 30 days, 21 steps, or the next full moon to activate it. You need one thing, a moment of radical, energetic honesty. A moment where you face the version of you addicted to the old story and whisper, I love you, but I no longer choose you. That's the split. That's the jump. That's the signal the field can't ignore. Because the quantum field is scanning for coherence. Not perfection, not hype, not desperate excitement. Coherence. A state where your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and your beliefs all hum on the same frequency as the life you claim you want. Hit that note, even for a second, and something locks in. The jump commits. And then the strangest thing happens. The need to prove fades. The urge to push dissolves. The constant striving to get disappears. What's left is something unexpected, neutrality. Not the emptiness of detachment, but the clarity of a self no longer at war. And that's why true transformation often feels boring. Because without the drama of doubt, without the friction of duality, all that's left is presence. And presence isn't passive. Presence is power. You're no longer waiting for the shift, because in that moment, you are the shift. You are no longer chasing the self. You are the self, and the field, like a mirror with no delay, begins to echo that truth back to you. But only if you hold it. Only if you don't blink. Only if you don't collapse the signal the moment the evidence doesn't show up fast enough. This is what separates a quantum jumper from a quantum wisher. The jumper sends a signal, and lives in it. The wisher sends a signal and then waits for proof. And when proof doesn't come fast enough, they sink back into the old self, the old broadcast, the old life. But not you. Because by the time you reach the end of this video, You'll know how to hold the signal. You'll know how to drop the doubt. You'll know how to collapse the version of you that cannot go where you're going. This isn't about metaphysics, it's about memory. Remembering the version of you that already exists and choosing to live from there. Most people don't need more information. They don't need another lecture, another book, another secret. They need a protocol, something to do when the mind spirals, when the body panics, when the old identity tries to claw them back. So let's break the myth right now. Quantum jumping isn't a single heroic leap. It's not one decision. It's a sequence, a vibrational ritual, a daily act of collapsing the illusion that you are fixed or limited or late. The process isn't a checklist. It's a set of energetic postures, ways of standing in your own field, that allow you to step into the version of you already living in the timeline you've been reaching for. Let's call it the broadcast shift. Step 1. Recognize the discomfort as a signal, not a setback. Every time you feel the old self pulling you back, the fear, the self-doubt, the delay, don't panic. Don't judge it. See it. That discomfort is not a stop sign. It's a threshold marker. In quantum terms, that tension is energetic interference, the static between the frequency you're leaving and the frequency you're tuning into. Most people misread the static. They hear the noise and think, this must mean it's not working. But it's not rejection, it's recalibration. Step 2, interrupt the emotional pattern instantly. When that familiar emotion grabs hold, your body wants to fall back into the easy old groove, the story you've told 1,000 times. But here's your power move. Break the broadcast. Change your posture. Shift your breath. Speak out loud. Do something physical, something symbolic, to crack open that loop. Neuroscience has proven this. Pattern interruption is the fastest way to dissolve neural coherence and carve space for a new choice. Step 3, embody the frequency of the timeline you want. This is the jump point. Ask yourself, if I already had what I'm asking for, how would I feel? And then feel it. Not as a game, not as pretend, but as an act of pure decision. Let that state take over your nervous system for 90 seconds, 3 minutes, however long it takes for your field to hum with coherence. Because the field doesn't measure the outcome, it measures the signal, so broadcast it. Step 4, make one action from the new identity. Quantum jumping is not about sitting in stillness, hoping reality will eventually catch up. It's about behaving like the version of you who's already living in that timeline, not to get something, but to prove the shift. Maybe it's a message you send, a boundary you hold, a different thought you choose. It doesn't matter how small. What matters is that it's in character with the you that already exists on that new frequency. This act creates entanglement. The field notices. The field responds. Your broadcast becomes measurable. Step 5, detach from the timeline. Stay in the vibration. Let go of the stopwatch in your head. Because the moment you demand proof, you quietly send out the signal of lack. And the field doesn't respond to your hope. It responds to your broadcast. This is the part almost everyone misunderstands. They do the ritual, feel good for a few moments, and then they start scanning the horizon for proof. The instant you start looking for evidence, you've stepped out of the vibration and straight back into fear. A true jump isn't about chasing proof. It's about holding the frequency even when reality is still rearranging. Especially then, because that moment of silence, that's the test. The field is always listening. So let's make this tangible. Tomorrow morning, try this. Wake up, sit upright. Before you check your phone, before you open the floodgate of notifications, ask softly, which version of me am I choosing to broadcast today? Then close your eyes, breathe. Let the answer rise, not from thought, but from posture, breath, and energy. Maybe the answer feels calm. Maybe it feels bold. Maybe it feels trusting, expansive, free. Whatever comes, hold it for just 2 minutes, then step into your day as if no other version of you exists. Speak from it, move from it, react from it. Because when your entire being becomes the broadcast, reality doesn't have the luxury to debate you. It must respond. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped matching the old reality's echo. You stopped being a receiver. You became a transmitter. And transmitters don't chase proof. They create it by holding the signal until it solidifies into matter. But here's where most people trip. In the next section, we'll go deeper into this, because you need to understand why so many collapse the new signal without even realizing it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't fail to jump because they didn't want it enough. They fail because they didn't understand the mechanics of energetic sabotage. They thought the doubt was harmless. They thought checking for signs was normal. They didn't realize that every time they asked, "Is it working?" but they were collapsing their own broadcasts, falling back into the orbit of the old self. Let's break this down. In quantum physics, the observer effect shows us this. The very act of measuring a particle changes its state. In human transformation, the act of doubting your shift does the same thing. It changes its frequency. This isn't about forcing yourself to be positive all the time. It's about not interrupting the new signal with the fear of the old identity. Because here's what happens. You declare a new version of yourself. You feel it. You act from it. The field begins to respond. But then, silence. No proof. No sign. And your old programming wakes up like a sleeping giant. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I did it wrong. And in that moment, your frequency collapses. Not because the shift wasn't real, but because you stopped broadcasting it. The quantum field can only mirror what you sustain. This is where emotional mastery becomes sacred. Not emotional suppression, not pretending you don't feel doubt, but awareness. Doubt appears, name it. Don't become it. Impatience rises, observe it. Don't feed it. You catch yourself scanning for signs. Pause, return to signal. Because every emotion carries a frequency. And the field is not personal, it's mechanical. It doesn't punish you for fear, it simply reflects it. So the real question isn't, how do I stop feeling this? The real question is, which feeling do I choose to embody, even when this one shows up? This is what it means to anchor the jump. You don't wait to feel ready. You practice being the signal until the signal becomes your nervous system's default. And here's the paradox no one tells you. The less you chase the result, the faster it finds you. Why? Because the moment you chase, you declare you don't yet have. And the moment you declare lack, the field whispers back, then it isn't yours. Every time you say, "I'll believe it when I see it," you've already surrendered your power. But when you whisper, "I believe it, and that's why I'll see it," you've already jumped. That's what it means to choose yourself before the proof arrives. To stand behind your new identity, even when the world hasn't adjusted its mirrors. To stop waiting for permission to step into the self that's been waiting for you all along. So here's the invitation. Not just to listen to this, not just to think about it, but to anchor it, type it, say it out loud. I choose myself. Write it in the comments. Not for me, not for the algorithm, for your own coherence. Because even the smallest act of broadcast, that single moment of emotional certainty, is what the field has been waiting for. Not grand action, not flawless perfection, just alignment. Alignment that says, I don't need convincing, I am already there. This is how timelines stabilize. Not through pressure, not through desperate effort, but through returning to the signal again and again until it becomes your natural pulse. Because the one who can return to that vibration the fastest, no matter what the outer world throws at them, is the one who bends reality first. And that could be you. But here's where most people get blindsided. They think once they've declared the jump, everything should instantly look brighter, cleaner, clearer. What they don't realize is that the first proof of the jump rarely looks like fireworks. It often feels like chaos. Because when the jump starts to land, your broadcast becomes so steady, so precise, the field has no choice but to respond. But the response doesn't just deliver, it rearranges. Chaos, silence, reorganization. Here's what no one tells you. Your new frequency doesn't just magnetize what belongs. It repels what no longer fits. And that, at first, can feel like loss. like confusion, like the floor is falling out from under you. Think about it. When you finally commit to the new version of you, it's not just the shiny dreams that shift into orbit. Everything that's out of tune with that frequency starts drifting away. Your relationships feel distant. Your job feels foreign. Your habits feel heavy. Nothing's breaking. What's happening is energetic misalignment surfacing, so it can clear. It's like this. You were once tuned to 93.7 FM. Your life, your friends, your routines, all humming on that station. But now you've shifted. You're broadcasting on 104.5, same room, same chair, but a different signal. Naturally, the static begins. Some conversations feel strange. People don't get you anymore. Opportunities dissolve. The familiar starts to feel hollow. That's not regression. That's resonance doing its work. In quantum terms, you've altered your vibrational signature. The field is recalibrating, untangling you from the old threads. It's not rejection, it's realignment. And yes, it can feel lonely. It can feel like a test. It can make you question if you made the right choice. But this is the space where reality bends. This is the void, the sacred in-between, where the old timeline has lost its grip, but the new one hasn't yet fully formed. Your only job here? Not to react, not to panic, but to remain in signal. Because here, in this trembling middle ground, your nervous system will beg you to run back, to reach for the familiar, to soften the shift, to apologize for it, to tone it down, to second-guess yourself. But this is the moment of anchoring, because what most people call tests from the universe are rarely tests at all. They are echoes of your old frequency, bouncing back one last time, whispering, "Are you sure?" And here's the secret. You don't answer those echoes with words. You answer them with the signal you hold. You don't answer those echoes with words. You answer with embodiment. You wake up. You inhale into the rhythm of your new self. You move in ways the old self would never dare. You stop explaining your evolution to anyone who keeps demanding evidence. You stop bargaining for belief. You don't let go of people. You let go of the version of you who needed their validation to exist. And then, almost without warning, something shifts. A message arrives from someone new. An opportunity surfaces from nowhere. A synchronicity so sharp, so absurdly perfect, you laugh through the tears. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations, proof that the field has finally locked in. Proof that your broadcast is now your baseline. Proof that you're no longer leaking energy into expired stories. It won't happen all at once. It rarely does. It might take days. It might take weeks. But it always happens. Because reality isn't random. It's rhythmic. And when you become the rhythm of your next level, your timeline has no choice but to tune itself to you. So don't fear the silence. Don't mistake the void for failure. Don't confuse the loss of old alignments for punishment. See them for what they are: a clearing, a vibrational detox, a cosmic vacuum making room for the version of you that's already arrived, just waiting to be received. And in this final stretch, here's the truth that almost no one tells you. Jumping isn't enough. You must remain, because there's a power in the choice no one else sees. A quiet decision you make inside yourself. Before the applause, before the proof, before the world agrees. That's the real quantum jump. Not the vision board, not the meditation, but the moment you stop broadcasting lack and start embodying your own frequency, with no witnesses but the field itself. Because the field is always listening, not like a judge, like a mirror, a neutral, infinite intelligence that bends for one thing only: your broadcast. And now you know what that broadcast truly is. It isn't your thoughts, it isn't your wishes, it isn't even your words. It's the vibration you hold when no one is looking. And the most potent frequency you can hold? Certainty. Not certainty in outcome, certainty in self. When you choose yourself, not once, but over and over, in the silence, in the unknown, in the waiting room between identities, you send the strongest signal the universe can possibly receive. You're saying, this is who I am, and I don't need proof to be it. That's when the shift becomes undeniable. That's when the new timeline stops hovering and finally lands. Not because you chased it, because you matched it, because you became it. And from this moment forward, reality stops being a condition. It becomes a confirmation, an echo of the version of you that already exists, now made visible. So don't look for results, look for resonance. Don't ask, is it working? Ask, am I broadcasting my future or rehearsing my past? That one question collapses illusions, dismantles timelines, and silences every old version of you in a single breath. Because when you stop seeking the shift and start becoming the shift, everything quietly rearranges itself around you. And it won't be dramatic, it won't be loud, it will be subtle, elegant, inevitable. A new friend who appears the moment you stop needing one. An idea that lands when you stop forcing answers. An opportunity that makes no logical sense, but every energetic sense. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's the quantum field whispering back. Message received. So if something stirred in you during this video, if something clicked, shifted, resonated in a way you can't quite explain, that's your field moving. That's coherence rising. That's your new timeline cracking open. And here's what I want you to do next. Nothing drastic, nothing overwhelming. Just one small step from this frequency. Maybe you write down the version of you are now choosing to broadcast. Maybe you delete the thing that no longer matches your signal. Maybe you just sit in silence, breathing as your future self, for 60 seconds longer than you normally would. Whatever it is, let it come from certainty. And if you want to keep feeding this signal, to keep tuning into content that reminds you who you really are, then stay here with us, not just to subscribe, to tune in. Because this isn't just a channel, it's a transmission. And every time you come back, you're not just watching another video, you're reinforcing your own frequency. So if this resonated with you, if you are done waiting for proof, if you're ready to embody the truth you've always felt humming underneath everything, then hit subscribe. And in this field, you will choose yourself again and again and again, until the universe has no choice but to catch up. The field is listening. Stay in signal. Don't blink. Don't reach back. Just breathe as the future you and let the universe catch you.